24 days, almost 3.5 weeks. That's how long it took for a copy of the Declaration of Independence to reach the Continental Army here at Fort Ticonderoga. But how did soldiers respond to the news of nationhood during the tumultuous summer of 1776? Following its passage, Congress immediately ordered the Declaration to be printed and sent to the states and the Army. The news reached New York in 2 days, and General George Washington ordered the Declaration to be read to the main Continental Army there on July 9th. With the fate of the new nation on the line, Washington hoped its words would give the Army confidence and courage as a massive British force sailed into New York Harbor. This may have worked too well. A group of soldiers and sailors were so motivated by the Declaration that they marched to Bowling Green, where a massive 2-ton gilded lead statue of George III had been erected in 1770. Using ropes, they toppled the statue, dismembered this lead monarch, and hauled the pieces to Litchfield, Connecticut, where His late Majesty was recast into tens of thousands of musket balls. The following day, Washington reprimanded the troops, seeing their zeal as a lack of discipline. Less than a week later, Thursday, July 18th, the Declaration was read in Boston. In celebration, 13 cannon boomed out, echoed by the fortifications across Boston Harbor, and 13 divisions of Continental soldiers fired volleys of musketry. Across the city, jubilant Americans defaced or burned royal crests and signs bearing crowns, lions, or similar motifs. News of the Declaration reached Ticonderoga on July 15th. 11 days after its approval by Congress. At that time, much of the Northern Continental Army was still at Crown Point, preparing to make the final move south. Word of independence arrived there the following day, toasted with brandy grog as troops prepared to embark for Ticonderoga. But the soldiers did not know what exactly the Declaration said. On July 11th, General Washington enclosed a copy of the Declaration to General Philip Schuyler with instructions to have it read to the Northern Army. The day after, Ebenezer Hazard, the postmaster of New York City, mailed another copy directly to General Horatio Gates at Ticonderoga. 6 days passed before Schuyler received his copy from Washington, while he was stationed at German Flats on the Mohawk River, over 60 miles west of Albany. The next day, July 18th, Schuyler forwarded the Declaration to General Gates. But it could take more than a week for letters to arrive at Ticonderoga, and it is unclear whether Gates received the Declaration from Hazard or Schuyler first. But a copy did arrive, likely on July 25th, when the Army's parole and countersign were recorded as the Congress and Independence. However, the soldiers would have to wait 3 more days to hear the Declaration's words. Likely hoping to leverage the solemnity of a formal parade and religious observations for the Sabbath, the Declaration of Independence was finally read to the Army at Ticonderoga on Sunday, July 28th. The Pennsylvania regiments of the 4th Brigade were formed into a hollow square, with the soldiers facing inward just behind the old French lines. Following divine worship, the brigade commander, Colonel Arthur St. Clair, read aloud the text of the Declaration, after which he proclaimed,
"God save the free and independent states of America,"
which was followed by 3 cheers from the assembled troops. Finally able to hear Jefferson's stirring words, the men of the Army felt a variety of emotions. One proudly reported that it reanimated the weary soldiers, whose bearing appeared to say, "Now we are a people. We have a name among the states of the world." A smaller group of soldiers clearly had different feelings and resigned, comfortable fighting for their rights as Englishmen, but unwilling to make this drastic a break with Britain. No record survives of a similar reading of the Declaration to the 3 brigades across Lake Champlain. No doubt because they were busy clearing the point of land and laying out a camp for nearly 4,000 men, many of whom had only arrived within the week. But the following day, July 29th, 1776, the Army's chief engineer for the first time used the name Point Independency to refer to this site where they were camped. Despite their regional differences, the New Englanders on Mount Independence likely would have sympathized with Pennsylvania Captain John Lacey, who wrote in his diary that the Declaration made a little buzz but was soon forgotten. This lackluster response seems almost unbelievable, but the harried, sick, and demoralized Continental Army faced a daunting challenge. It fell upon them to defend the northern colonies that had just declared themselves free and independent. From the works beginning on Mount Independence to the old French lines at Ticonderoga, the Army labored to restore health and discipline, much more immediate concerns that tempered the Declaration's powerful rhetoric. The Continentals knew that if they failed to hold out, those words would mean nothing. To defend the independence that had only just been declared required them to focus on blocking a British attack. And so the buzz that followed the news of the Declaration was soon replaced by the swinging of axes, the digging of shovels, and the marching of feet as the Army prepared to back up the Declaration's words with deeds and ensure that independence was more than just ink on paper.